Hello everybody and welcome to this Medill Newsmakers special, Running with the Windy City Bulls. I'm your host, Yousef Nasser. Every young hooper dreams of one day showcasing their talent in the National Basketball Association, the premier basketball league in the world. Of course, the path to the NBA is not always straightforward. You see, there are only 450 roster spots in the NBA. For every LeBron James, Luka Doncic, and Zion Williamson, prodigious talents who enter the league as high draft picks and made immediate impacts, there are dozens, hundreds of players who work tirelessly to develop their skills in order to make their NBA dreams come true. How did they do it? Some play overseas in leagues like the EuroLeague, Australia's National Basketball League, or the Chinese Basketball Association. Others opt to play stateside in the NBA's developmental league, the NBA G League. In today's show, we dive into the NBA G League through the lens of the Windy City Bulls, the G League affiliate of the Chicago Bulls. But what exactly is the G League? Let's take a look.
The NBA G League is the National Basketball Association's minor league organization geared towards developing young players. It was founded in 2001. Back then, the league was known as the NBDL, the National Basketball Development League. That league started with 8 teams. Today, the league has 28 teams. All but 2 franchises have their own G League team, known as a G League affiliate. What does affiliate mean? It means that NBA teams work in conjunction with these affiliates to develop players in hopes of eventually bringing them up to the NBA. For instance, the Chicago Bulls G League affiliate is the Windy City Bulls. The Windy City Bulls and their head coach Damian Connor run the exact same system that the Chicago Bulls did. This way, if the Chicago Bulls decide to call up a player, that player will be familiar with their system through working with the Windy City Bulls.
Nice shot, Gus. When we return, we'll take a trip down memory lane with current Windy City Bulls player Milton Doyle. Stay tuned, you won't want to miss this.
Go you Northwestern, go Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victories, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Welcome back. I recently had a chance to spend a day with Chicago native and current Windy City Bulls guard Milton Doyle. We visited his local barbershop, his childhood neighborhood in North Longdale, the community center where he grew up, and his alma mater, Loyola University of Chicago. Milton takes viewers through his upbringing in Chicago, the benefits and challenges of playing in the G League, and shares what's next for him, his family, and his basketball career.
You know how I'm always bragging when, about the guy who's on the basketball team? Yeah, this is him.
Alright, see, look now, we gonna take over. I'm a big man. I'm the person that he really learned from.
How would you describe your relationship with your mom?
My mom?
Yeah.
Obviously, my mom is great. Been at the league since day one. Supported me in every way, from school to basketball, whatever else. I grew up in mama's boy, so my relationship with my mom is really good.
My mom worked in the park district, so that's why I grew up in the park district.
Which of these trophies did you contribute to?
A lot of them. A lot of them. I used to get protested all the time.
Why? Just like birth certificate type stuff, or
They
like?
used to think I was older than I was, so they used to protest me. But I was like one of the youngest guys on the team. It's me right here with the basketball. Super young. I think this the trophy for that. I think this is like the inner city basketball, baseball stuff. I think it's some volleyball stuff up here. Everything.
You played volleyball?
Volleyball, flag, football, everything. Had to. In order to play basketball, you had to play every sport. How you doing?
All right.
He was one of the most intelligent students I had. He was the highest scoring ISET student. Am I right, Milton?
I won a couple bites.
He won.
Milton was kind of quiet to himself. Very mannerable student. Had great potential. Very respectful. I figured he would make it.
This is the third year I was here. You don't see you?
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
Our kids, they need something. They need some type of element. Seeing somebody from the neighborhood doing something positive.
Hi. You want an orange? Oh, I thought you were supposed to stay nutrition. Hey, see you. Nice meeting you again. Thanks for signing.
It's still kind of funny to me just knowing people look at me like that, because I don't look at myself as like a big time professional basketball player.
Because we lack positive role models in his neighborhood. So you learn from over here exactly. You already know how it is.
It's probably like top 3, top 5 worst neighborhoods in Chicago.
Came from football. It was my first year actually playing real football. It happened right here in the park.
I think I was still in elementary school, but I remember playing on a court out here, and some guys playing like over there, away from the court.
He was on the court playing basketball. I was in the park, and next thing you know, I see some guys arguing. When I seen the guys arguing, I hear one of them say, "Man, you swing, I'm gonna knock your off."
Growing up out here is kind of like it's like a numbing effect when it comes to like violence and stuff like that, because you see it and you get used to it.
I'm young at the time. I didn't know really what was going on, so I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and get on. I got a bad feeling as I was walking off. The shots went off, and when the shots went off, I started running.
Everybody that was on the court had to be about 100 people outside. We ran to my house, and when we got to my house, they told me that like your little brother got shot.
Next thing you know, I made it to like the middle of the field. My neck was wet. Come find out, I was shot.
So I lived right here on the 3rd floor that time. So for me, it was easy to come out anytime I wanted and walk across the street to the court. So I spent most of my times like living right here. I really had no curfew to when I could come off the court. And so I came out here early in the morning and was out here late at night until the lights cut off.
So what do you remember when you got a taste of the NBA when you were on the two-way with Brooklyn? What are some of your favorite memories from that?
One of my first points, getting a chance just to guard and be on the court with people I watched growing up that I kind of idolized. I remember guarding Rondo for a little bit. I think him like probably being like the one I remember the most, just because I remember watching him when he was on the Boston team, and I remember sitting in the living room when they was playing the Bulls in the playoffs and just talking about that. So when I got on the court with him, it was like I'm in the league.
What's the best part about the G League, and what's the toughest aspect about the G League?
The best part is playing home and being just close to the NBA, knowing you one step away from the opportunity that could change your life. But the worst part is the things like not getting paid that much to stay home. So it's like pick your poison. So I think it's a lot of guys like me in the G League whose numbers and stats and games at NBA level, they can play on an NBA team, but I think the opportunity just hasn't presented itself. Sometimes it could be from injury or from a team or whatever, but I think like it's just based off opportunity, and I've seen guys do it. Like I've seen Spencer do it. One of my friends I grew up with, Alfonso McKinney, I've seen him go from not having college offers to playing in the finals with the Warriors. So I think it's all about opportunity.
We now welcome to the program Windy City Bulls guard Milton Doyle. Milton, thanks for stopping by.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. Now, of course, Milton, you've played all over the world. Played with the Brooklyn Nets, Long Island Nets, UCAB Mercia, and now you're with the Windy City Bulls. We had a chance the other day to walk around your neighborhood, reflect on how you got to this point. What thoughts, emotions come to mind when you think about your basketball journey?
Struggle through success. I think taking every step that most guys don't take to get here. So it's still kind of pushing through and trying to get to the next level.
And when you have some of that adversity, what's the factor that keeps you going, keeps you pushing through?
I think stuff like this, just getting the opportunities to be close to the NBA or get a foot in the door to be in the NBA. Just being a professional.
You're in the G League right now, and some of our viewers in the audience may not know what the G League is. How would you describe the G League to them?
I would describe it just as a minor league to the NBA, kind of how the MLB has the minor league, so just a development league.
Mm-hmm. And why, at this point in your career, is the G League the right spot for you and what you're trying to do with your career?
I think I'm still young and I still have opportunities to make it to the NBA. I think it's a short time span of what you have to try to push and get to the NBA, and I think if you waste it, you kind of lose the connection there. So.
You understand the game, you play the game. What do you think that you have to offer to an NBA club if you were to give that opportunity? You've obviously played a little bit with the Brooklyn Nets. You have a chance to see live bodies compete. What do you think that you can bring to a team?
I think my scoring ability is what mostly stands out to NBA front offices. And now I think playing a point guard this year for the Bulls, the Windy City Bulls, I think my playmaking ability and knowing how to get guys open on the court.
Now, it's an interesting dynamic in the G League because you have guys on the roster. Every guy is trying to make it to that next level, whether it's the NBA or trying to get a contract overseas. So you've got that dynamic, but you're also trying to win games. With the Windy City Bulls, I've had a chance to interact with you, other players, coach, general manager, and they've all talked about the culture. How are you able to build a strong team culture when there's so many different agendas that are going on within the G League structure?
I think just having that one main agenda of making it to the next level, which is the NBA. So I think all guys are on board to make it there, and you can't do it just on your own at this level because they're looking at you as a team player first off, because most guys that come from the G League are going up to help and play a small role on the NBA team. So if you're not a team player, you're not going to make it.
When you were on the Brooklyn Nets, you were on what's called a two-way contract. Can you explain to our viewers what the two-way contract is, how that works, and how you balance your time with the Brooklyn Nets and also their G League affiliate, the Long Island Nets?
Two-way contract is basically a contract which you're mainly in the G League, but you can get called up anytime to an NBA team, which is whatever affiliate team you're playing for. And you have a certain amount of days to play those games. That's pretty much it.
So, and I believe it's 45 days, is that correct?
Yeah, 45.
And so when you're with the G League club, you're making the G League standard salary, and when you're with the NBA club, you're making the NBA salary, is that correct?
You make the G League salary for whatever days you're down with the G League team, and whatever days you're called up to an NBA team, you make whatever the league minimum is.
What was that year like for you? That was your first year out of Loyola, that experience going back and forth between the NBA club and the G League club. What was that like for you?
It was great for me. It was a learning experience, just being able to go up and be around the NBA and kind of learn what it's like to really be a professional at the highest level.
After that year with the Brooklyn Nets, Long Island Nets, you went to Spain to play in the ACB League, one of the best leagues in the world. What was that like playing with UCAB Murcia and your time over there in Spain?
I think it was, for me, it was more of a learning to be a pro myself. I think in college I had a lot of help with guys telling me what to do, and being around the NBA, you have so many guys that's on a staff that's helping you out. But once you go overseas, you're by yourself. Everything, workouts, treatments, taking care of your body, you kind of have to learn what you like as a professional and what helps you.
And you have the one-year deal with UCAB Murcia, and now you have to make a decision. Do you want to stay overseas, or do you want to come back to the G League? Take us through that process of making that decision of trying to get back in the NBA, try to make an NBA roster versus staying overseas. How did you come to make that decision?
I knew my main goal going overseas to play in the ACB was to kind of make it back to the league. I know a lot of guys go to that league and end up getting called up to an NBA team the following year just off the relevance of that league and how important it is over there. So I knew coming forward I would have to go to mini camps and summer league to try to get back on NBA team's roster and see how I've improved over that 1 year.
We've talked about this before, but some of the benefits of the G League and some of the tougher aspects of playing in the G League, what are those for you?
For me, is traveling. I think the travel is probably the hardest thing.
Take us there. What's it like? What's a day on the road as a G League player?
Going to, we're outside of the city, so driving probably 30 minutes to the airport or longer depending on the traffic. Then the commercial flights, which are small seatings, and most of the time we're on smaller planes, so that, and then flying to whatever city to go to another small town in that city, which is most likely a 2-hour drive.
Now, we were talking also yesterday about the kind of flux that a roster goes in, a G League roster goes in. You have guys getting called up. Now, you're a point guard. You have to be aware of the talent surrounding you. What's that adjustment like, knowing that guys you're playing with 1 week may not be there the next week?
It's challenging just because most guys come in, they don't know the offense. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're playing on the fly. So you have to kind of know what guys like and know what spots they like on the court. So being a point guard, you kind of have to really be in tune with what's going on.
What have you learned these past 3 years since leaving Loyola about the business of basketball?
That you have to be on top of everything. I think once you stop paying attention to the business part, I think it takes a toll on basketball also.
When we return, we'll take a look at how the season has gone for the Windy City Bulls and bring on Australian native and current Windy City Bulls head coach Damian Connor to discuss his first season with the team. Stay with us.
At Northwestern, we're Wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
At Northwestern University, we are pioneering innovation and achieving excellence across every imaginable discipline. At Northwestern University, the possibilities are endless.
Welcome back. Now that we've taken a look at the G League as a whole and learned about the G League from the perspective of a player, let's dive into the Windy City Bulls 2019-20 season. We're at Sears Center Arena in Hoffman Estates, Illinois, the home of the Windy City Bulls, and I'm pleased to be joined by none other than the head coach of the Bulls, Damian Connor. Damian, thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure, Yousef.
Damian, this program is geared towards educating our audience about the G League. You've had a chance to coach all over Australia, which we'll talk about, but explain to our audience what the G League is for those who may not be aware.
Basically, it's a development league, and before Gatorade sponsored it, that was what it was called. It was called the D League, and the D stand for development. And wins and losses are valuable and fun. Wins are fun to have, but the most important thing is that players get better.
Is that one of the metrics that you use to determine success as opposed to wins and losses? It's a little different in the G League.
It's totally different. It's for us, Max Struess and Adam McCoke are our two-ways. It's really important for the club that we were providing opportunities for these players to develop. And Max really, unfortunately, he was so close to breaking into the Bulls with the injuries that they've had to deal with this year. And then he did his ACL when we were at the showcase in Vegas. And Adam's recent form, both here and with the Bulls, has indicated that this has been a successful year for him.
Can you describe the interaction between the NBA club and the G League affiliate? What does that relationship look like on a day-to-day basis?
I think with our club, we're pretty unique. Like I literally spoke to Coach Boylan driving here. Yesterday I was down at practice. I spoke to one of his lead assistants, Chris Fleming, today. It's a pretty cool environment. I know my assistant coaches interact with their staff as well, and I think that's the only way. There has to sort of be for this to be successful, there has to be an alignment, and a lot of clubs, I think, pay lip service to that, but we certainly live it.
You have an interesting relationship as well with the Denver Nuggets. How would you describe the uniqueness of that relationship? They use the Windy City Bulls because they don't have their own G League affiliate as their G League club.
I think the word unique's pretty appropriate. It's a good relationship. We had PJ Dozier, and it would have been nice to keep him, but he's another one. He wasn't our two-way, he was Denver's two-way. And he's gone up and done really well, and he started to establish himself as an NBA player. So, if you look at the three players and you take into account that Max was close to getting there, it's been a pretty successful year.
Let's shift gears to talking about your background in basketball. You're from Australia, as we've discussed. How do you decide mid-career basketball, because you've worked with the youth program over there, you've coached in the NBL, why make the move to the NBA G League? Talk me through what happened. What's the story behind that?
I think if you do coach and you have some peaks and valleys, and I got fired from a club in Australia.
Sydney Kings.
Sydney Kings. I went into the Olympics with our national women's team, and by the end of that all happened within a 6-month period, and I was quite burnt out. And I took a sabbatical, and then after that, I decided to get in, and I was making a lot of calls, and it just stuck with Ron Norwood, who's now at Charlotte, and he's a head coach at Long Island Nets at that point. I came over, with half a bag packed, and it was pretty cool. It was one of the best professional experiences I've ever had.
So you start with Long Island as an assistant coach, then you go to the Capital City Go-Go, which is the affiliate of the Washington Wizards, then you get the call to be the head coach of the Windy City Bulls. How did that all play out, this opportunity with the Bulls?
Oh, look, I got a call. I was traveling through, I do stuff for FIBA in the summer, and I was traveling through, I was actually in Cambodia when I got a text message from Coach Boylan, and it was pretty funny because the Wi-Fi in Cambodia is not real good. And so I remember he was going to call me at this time and this day, and I was trying to figure out where to be waiting, where the best Wi-Fi was. And we had a quick conversation, and then I bounced on to, I think, Laos and Vietnam and then Guam, and then we spoke a little bit over that. And then by the time I got here, we had a few phone calls, and they flew me in for a visit, and it was pretty good good vibe from both parties, and really grateful to be here.
How is this opportunity different from some of the other coaching opportunities that you've had?
It's similar. Like I worked in an institute program, and that was purely about development. So it's similar to that. It's similar to coaching the junior national team with the relative age, and you're coaching hungry young men that want to get better. The difference is, my last professional coach, it's not life and death. And it's what we spoke about earlier about the development of those players. And there's, we can start dropping more names of players that have improved this year. And that's what people, that's what people judge us on. And it's not winning and losing. We went 1-10 in that middle third of the year. We were pretty decimated, and we were trying to figure out how to recalibrate. And if that's happening in professional leagues, most professional leagues in the world, the coaches asked to leave. So that was never like that here, because everyone could see the progression of development in young players like Simi Shittu. Even Trey McCallum's really come out of nowhere this year and started to establish himself as someone who I think that could end up making some good money professionally.
All of these players are competing with themselves, with their opponents, to make it to the NBA or make money overseas. So all of them have incentive to do as well as they possibly can, perhaps in some instances at the expense of their teammates. How do you facilitate a team culture in an environment where it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do?
It's cool hearing that. I really believe in culture, and culture to me, I define it as small, consistent displays of behaviour over a period of time. But you've got to establish some values, and we went about that. And all my job in that is just to reinforce those values when there's slippage. And I think most people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And I think people that do that, and I think we've got a lot of good guys, and I think management's done a good job of putting good people in. We set our values, we established our values. We all committed to being part of something bigger than ourselves, and we've had some great results. Like since the All-Star break, I think we've been 5-4, and we've taken a few big scalps.
In January, the wildfires in Australia were a big story. The Bulls did something really cool to help partner with the Australian Red Cross. What can you share about that story and how it came to your attention?
Well, obviously, it's I grew up near a national park and was exposed to bushfires a few times when I was growing up. So it sort of hit home. Fortunately, it wasn't near that area, but it was just about everywhere else, and it was quite horrific. And it was pretty cool. I went in and spoke to Brad Seymour and said, it'd be good if we can do something. And I was just figuring like an autograph ball to auction and that. And then the next thing I know, 8 hours later, I get a call. We're doing this on this night, this on this, and it was overwhelming how supportive the Bulls were.
It's Damian Connor, the head coach of the Windy City Bulls. Damian, thank you so much for taking the time.
Pleasure, Yousef. I'm more than happy to help out as much as I can, and thanks for supporting Windy City Bulls.
That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank my two guests, Milton Doyle and Damian Connor, for coming on the program. For the entire team here at the Northwestern Newsmakers studio, I'm Yousef Nasser. Thanks for watching.